I monitored him. I sat there and watched him for long enough period that I felt comfortable. Then I needed to go to the bathroom. So I got up, went to the bathroom to release myself of the urine, and also consider getting rid of some of his urination that he had put in the jugs overnight. Then I came back to his bedside and I was stunned in the sense that he wasn't breathing, because I always want to look at his chest and look at his diaphragmatic motion and all of those things. I looked at the pulse oximeter right away, and his heart rate was like 122 beats. So immediately I felt for a pulse, and I was able to get a 30 pulse in the femoral region. His body was warm. There was no change in color. So I assume that everything happened very quickly, just about the time I was going, within that time I'm coming back. So I started immediately to perform CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Manually doing the CPR, or did you have a resuscitation?
First thing you did?
Well, I observed him clinically.
Did you apply any medicine or do anything?
Well, the first thing I wanted to do, I did apply medicine, but not first. I wanted to resuscitate him.
Okay, sorry.
And the key thing is that if he was not breathing, I wanted to make sure I ventilate him and to compress him. I also know with CPR that the best thing you can do for a patient is to, if you don't even ventilate, make sure you do compressions. So I started with his chest compressions, and then I swiftly went a single man resuscitation to ventilate him directly, mouth to mouth. I saw his chest rise appropriately and fall, so I knew that I was ventilating and I'm getting oxygen into him, and then I would switch back to CPR. I made sure that his chest was rising completely with deep breaths and falling. Then, knowing that the phones don't work, I found that out a few weeks before when I lifted for dial tone and tried to make a call, and there was no way this phone was working. And I asked about that, and they said, well, you know, the phones around here don't work. So having that knowledge, the only way I can get help is one. I know that he lives at 100 North Carrollwood. I don't know the zip code. To speak to a 911 operator would be to neglect him. I don't have that availability. I want to ventilate him, do chest compression enough to give me an opportunity. While I got that done, I then continued CPR with my left hand, singularly, reached for my cell phone, and then called his assistant, which number I had, Brother Michael. I told him, Brother Michael, you need to send security up to Mr. Jackson's room immediately. We have a problem. Okay?
It's Michael Lemire, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I did not want him to. Couldn't ask him at that time to call 911 because he would want to know what it was about. And I have a patient that needs help, and I'm trying to assist. Recognizing that his pulse was, I didn't have a pulse now. I then lifted his leg, which can give you what is an auto transfusion. In other words, the blood in your legs, if you lift the legs, it can go back towards his heart. So I did that, elevate his legs just for a brief moment. I would love to have had it stay up, but I had nothing to prop it up. So I auto transfuse him as best as I can. Continue CPR, continue mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. No one came to the door. No one knocked the door. About a minute was gone. I did CPR, then I reached into the bag quickly, took a syringe and got flumazenil. Flumazenil is an antidote that could refuse the effects of a benzodiazepine. And the fact that he had gotten lorazepam, the fact that he had gotten Versed, I wanted to reverse the effects of those agents should they be working together now in addition to the milk that he was given? And when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I saw the chef who was cooking. I think her name was Rose. And I told her I had an emergency, have security come immediately. And that's when the gentleman you hear on the 911 call comes upstairs. The door is open, he gets inside there. I said call 911. While he's doing 911, I am doing chest compressions, I'm doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but I want 911 to be called now, even though he's still on the bed, because I would still need help to move him up from the bed and place him at an appropriate site on the floor where I would have a firmer surface. So I continue to support his back when I do the chest compressions. I continue to ventilate him with my mouth. The operator is asking the security guard what's going on. I said, we have a patient that is not breathing. That's all of the things he's saying he's getting from me. How old is he? I said 50 years because they don't know his age.
But do you know who the security guard was?
Alberto Alvarez. And the operators continued to ask questions, and I said, just tell him to get here, because I wanted him to come down and help me move him to a harder surface so we can do CPR and ventilate him. And so the operator said that they were on the way. I then encouraged them to consider bicarbonate, which is because I would believe that at this time he would have some acidemia. Acid meaning that, not getting as much oxygen, your blood pH will go down. So I asked for bicarbonate to help him metabolically while we continued to do CPR to start an IV, which was done. The paramedics fought for a while to get an IV. Why?
Trying to find a vein.
Vein is difficult, Mr. Jackson. And in the process of moving him, my IV site became dislodged.
Now, real quick, when you talked about there was no need to shock him, did they do it against your wishes? Did the paramedics shock him?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So he was never shocked?
No, never.
The defibrillator was never used?
Never. After about 20 minutes of an effort, which I think was limited, because his condition was almost, I would say, witness, in the sense that I had not gone for a long time before I got back to the bed. It was just so short. I would call that a witness state. And I started CPR and everything right away. It was effective. It was deep. I knew that I could feel femoral pulses with my compressions. I knew that his circulation was intact, was kept going with my effort. I then asked UCLA to transfer the care to me. And they say, so instead of calling him dead, because they figured nothing was working at the time, and they didn't think that they would be able to get him back, they said that the doctor wants to try, if I would accept the care, they would be fine, because the doctor didn't want to spend too much longer on the line trying to give medication. I figured that I wanted to give him the best effort.
So all of this is going on is you're caring for him with the paramedics' help on the floor at the house. Nothing in the ambulance yet.
No.
Okay. And they want to give up, and you don't want to give up, so
no.
they transfer care to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love Mr. Jackson. He was my friend, and he opened up to me in different ways, and I wanted to help him.
Obviously, inevitably, things happen.
He passed. They pronounced him. And at that time, I recommended. I am the one that recommended. They said, well, is there a doctor who's going to sign a death certificate? And I said, I wouldn't want to sign a death certificate on Mr. Jackson when I don't understand the cause of his death. And therefore, I recommended that he have an autopsy. That's where the recommendation came from.